It's here! Introducing the Yeti PRO 4000. Goal Zero's sophisticated new power station brings next-generation power right to your home. This new power station has upgraded lithium iron phosphate battery technology and gives you more power, more control, more ports, more durability, and more possibilities. The Yeti PRO 4000 was designed with class-leading lifespan, more power output, faster charging, superior build quality, a meticulous safety system, more power storage capacity, and versatile integration options. This class-leading lifespan will give you over 4,000 battery cycles. This power station will last for over 10 years, even with daily use. Best-in-class power output gives the Yeti PRO the ability to run almost anything in your home thanks to its 3,600-watt power output and 7,200-watt surge abilities. Faster charging means you can charge it from 0 to 80% in 2 hours from a standard wall outlet and 0 to 100% in less than 90 minutes with 3,000 watts of solar input. The superior build quality means you can count on this power station for years. It comes with an industry-leading 5-year warranty and passed rigorous tests to ensure durability. It meets military standard 810H certification requirements for vibration, dust and water, extreme temperatures, and more. The Yeti PRO also has a precise safety system built in with over 100 safety checkpoints per second. The list goes on. Goal Zero is also releasing the Tank Pro 4000 expansion battery to give you more storage capacity. With the Tank Pro, you can expand your system to up to 20 kilowatt hours of backup power. That can last you 5 full days during an emergency. And the Tank Pro is just one of the new products designed to support the Yeti PRO. This power station was designed to be versatile so you can power anything, anywhere. Goal Zero's new Haven 10 transfer switch makes home backup even easier. It can back up as many as 10 circuits in your home. You get to choose the circuits that are most important to you. Then, when the grid goes out, you have power throughout your home, even without moving your power station. The Yeti PRO also provides automatic power switching. When the grid goes down, the Yeti PRO automatically switches from grid power to battery to power the circuits connected to the Haven 10. This switch happens in less than 10 milliseconds, so you might not even realize the power went out. The Yeti PRO is the perfect home backup system. It has 4,000 watt hours and can run essentials for about a day, which gives you enough power to run your refrigerator, Wi-Fi, lights, and more while keeping cell phones and laptops charged. The Yeti PRO was also designed with RV and van life adventures in mind. Goal Zero's new Escape ecosystem has kits for the drivable and towable vehicles to give you easy power anywhere you go. No shore power needed. This system lets you power RV air conditioners, lights, fans, water pumps, fridges, cellular hotspots, grills, TVs, and more. Your Escape ecosystem is also app-enabled for easy control of your devices while you're on the road. You can also install the remote control display to power the system on and off from a convenient location. With the Yeti PRO, you can truly power anything, anywhere, whether you're staying safe and connected in an emergency or hitting the road to explore new places in your van or RV. It's here, introducing the Yeti PRO 4000.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our headquarters in Salt Lake City, Utah. We're here today to launch the Yeti PRO 4000, and we're so excited for you to be joining us. We're going to get things started by kicking this off with our GM, Bill Harmon, and our Head of Product Development, Kayvon Vasefi. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Kat. Again, my name is Bill Harmon. We're so excited to be here for what I think is the biggest product launch in Goal Zero's history. Before we get into the details of the product, just a little bit of background on Goal Zero that I think some of our fans know, and for those that don't, I think it's important for you to maybe have a little bit of a background about Goal Zero. We launched the solar generator category in 2009, and a handful of companies will claim that, but I'm not sure how many can actually pull the product up that launched. This was actually the first solar generator commercially available. It actually was called the Gobi back in 2009, but this wasn't actually a commercial product initially. It was designed for a humanitarian mission to the Democratic Republic of Congo that our founder had a real heart for. It was shortly after that these products were launched that there was a real interest in the outdoor recreation community as well as emergency preparedness. And that really was the spawn of Goal Zero as a commercial entity, a mission-based commercial entity. We haven't lost sight of our mission over the last 14 years. Every year we'll do a couple humanitarian projects, usually one domestically and one internationally. We partner with a couple great ambassadors. Milo Fowler, Mike Lebecki are often the folks that help us coordinate these trips, but it's always been a part of Goal Zero's heart. Over the last 14 years, we've launched 5 generations of solar generators, and we're here to talk about the 6th generation today. And each time we launch a new generation, we really push forward the technical capabilities, the durability, many of the components that really make a power station or a solar generator serve customers' needs. And today we're just thrilled to announce the flagship product. This is, again, our 6th generation. It is the largest power station that we have ever launched. It is our flagship. We're going to get into some weeds and details about what it can do and why it was designed. Before we talk about all the specs and details, I'm going to ask Kayvon to maybe talk to us a little bit about what were the problems we were trying to solve when we designed this product? What were the use cases?
Yeah, for sure. So over all those years and generations, we were able to learn a lot from different applications, and we really honed in on 3 particular use cases that we wanted to purpose build this product to provide great customer experience in each of these areas. The first one obviously is the one that's been there from the beginning, as Bill mentioned, the outdoor recreation space, whether that's tailgating or camping, as well as some of these other kind of off-grid applications like professional work sites and things like that. So that's obviously been a part of our DNA from the beginning, but on top of that, as our products have grown over the years, we've been able to enter these other applications that the product does really well. In this case, we're really targeting a second group of applications, particularly in the home, integrated well into the home so that we are able to provide backup power, and in this generation, automatic backup power for when there's outages, and to be able to run the most important things in your home, from refrigeration to communications gear and things like that. So that's the second one. And then the third one is vehicle applications, and particularly recreational vehicles. They have a lot of devices and loads in there that we want to be able to run, and this product was really purpose-built to be able to run anything that you would have in an RV. So those are the 3, Bill, that we've been targeting.
You missed the zombie apocalypse. Is this not something you're planning for?
That goes without saying. I think we've had that from the beginning. I've been here for 10 years, and that's always been on our walls and our conversations. But yes, zombie apocalypse is number 4.
Now, in all seriousness, all kinds of emergencies could occur, and that's one of our favorite applications for a unit of this size, is really preparing for those unexpected emergencies. Could it be an EMP, a zombie apocalypse, a financial collapse, or just a hurricane that may roll through Texas or Florida? All those applications are really important in problems that we want to try to solve with this particular flagship unit. Before we, I think now's a great time to get into 8 elements of this product that we really spent time focusing on. So we'll talk about some of the specs and details of those. I'll kick it off with the first 3, and then I'll hand it off to Kayvon to talk about a few of the others. Probably the most important thing we all think about is power output. I mean, that's the primary purpose. How much power can I get out of it? We think of that in 3 different modes or ways to get power out. The first I'll talk about is alternating current. Those are your typical AC outlets you have in your home. This unit has a 3600 watt inverter. It can surge up to 7200, and with a component coming out in the next several months, early in next year, you'll be able to combine 2 Yetis to produce 240 volt power to power those power hungry devices that you have. So from an AC power standpoint, 3600 watts is the key thing to remember. And another thing I want to mention before we move on to the other 2 ways to get power out of the unit is the inverter efficiency. Our engineering team spent a lot of time thinking about efficiency, and we've got this unit rated at a 90% plus inverter efficiency. And what that means to you, it's not just the amount of power that you can get out, but you actually have access to more of the battery than most of our competitors provide. So that the losses that you see in this unit are far less when I'm pulling power out of the battery and getting them into my loads. So that's a key point we really spent time on, is ensuring you can use as much of the battery as possible. The second way to get power out is through the DC ports, the 12 volt ports. We have a variety of 12 volt ports, but this unit produces up to 30 amps of power. And for those of you that kind of speak amps and deal with vehicles, you know that with 30 amps, you can run an entire bus in a vehicle of, when I say a bus, a 12-volt bus. So lots of different devices across the spectrum of lights and other 12-volt devices that you might have in any sort of a vehicle or other 12-volt scenario. And the final way to get power out of it is through the USB ports. This unit is a bit oversized to think of as a device charger, but it's important that it can charge our devices. We've got a number of USB-C power delivery ports, with the largest producing 100 watts out. So those are the power outputs. We think we've designed a unit that has the kind of the maximum class-leading power outputs of any power station that's ever been conceived. Second, let's talk about second element of the 8 are how we get power into the unit. So fast charging capabilities across the board through AC, plugging into the wall. We maximize the power outlets in your home. Those typical 15 amp outlets that produce about 1,800 watts. This unit will pull all of that in, so about 1,800 watts coming in, meaning you can charge from 0 to 80 this entire 4,000 watt hour battery in about in less than 2 hours. And then the other way you get power into it typically is through DC or solar, and we've got another class-leading 3,000 watts of power input into the unit. So you can have up to 3,000 watts of portable solar that is chained together through a variety of cables and extenders that we have that would allow you to charge this in 0 to 80 in less than an hour and a half. So class-leading power output and class-leading power input. Third element I want to talk about is the user interface. We really spend some time ensuring the unit is as usable as possible, and I'll just refer to the screen a bit here. So on the screen here, you'll notice it's at a 45-degree angle. If you think about it, most of us, when we're dealing with one of these units, we're not looking at it straight on, or we're not looking straight down at it. We're at a 45. And so we designed a screen that's actually usable to someone who's in its typical position. There are 4 really important inputs that, it's 90% of what we care about when we're looking at the unit. All of those are on this large LCD display, and those are how much power is going in, what's the state of the battery, how much power is going out, and then what is your time to either full or empty, depending on whether you're charging faster or depleting the battery faster. So those 4 elements are on there. There's also a nice robust screen here that allows you to scroll through all kinds of messaging and details as well, if you want to get into the real details and depth of what's happening on the unit. And the last thing I'll say about the user interface is our app. Really excited to be announcing the next version of our app that is designed not just to be backward compatible with a current Yeti X line, but also with this unit. That'll be launching in the next 1 to 2 weeks as well as this unit launches. And that app has got all kinds of additional features, additional pairing capabilities. You can join the app both directly with the unit or through the cloud, so that when it's at home, you can monitor what's happening with your unit. You'll be able to see everything you can on the unit itself, on the app, and you have additional capabilities. I think one of my favorite capabilities on the app is the ability to set the kind of battery profile. So if you really want to preserve your battery, you can set different performance levels so that you leave out the bottom 5 and maybe the top 5% of the battery. All of those things will let you extend the battery life even longer. And I think Kayvon's going to talk a little bit about battery life in a minute. I don't know that you'll really need to extend it with the technology that's in this, but if you wanted to, you have those capabilities in the app. So very excited about the app coming on. I'll hand it over to Kayvon to talk about. So those are the 3 big ones. Take it over with number 4.
Yeah, so number 4 for us would be that we put a lot of energy and thought into creating a really safe and high-performing product. So beyond the specs, we put a lot of energy into part selection and design criteria and things like that. So some key examples of that are that the batteries that Bill is talking about use a chemistry called lithium iron phosphate, or LFP, and we picked tier 1 manufacturers for those cell manufacturing to ensure both the quality and performance, but also especially the safety, which is really critical on particularly lithium batteries and large lithium batteries. And on top of that, we put in multiple layers of protection and safety. One of the key ones is a battery management system. This is a circuit that is independent of everything else in the system. It has multiple processors that are monitoring hundreds of data points every second, making sure that everything is running smoothly. delivering performance, but most importantly, making sure that everything is in safe conditions and preventing anything from happening that's hazardous. And then beyond that, there's just layers and layers of redundant safety mechanisms, usually multiple circuits between you and anything that goes on inside the product, each one independently operating with safety. So that's number 4. And then kind of taking that a step further, number 5 for us is that we put a lot of value in real-world testing. This product, this particular model has gone through 6 prototype rounds, over 100 units that we've brought in during the development process and tested extensively. And the final design has gone through over 750 tests using over 200 real-world devices. Compatibility with real-world devices, whether that's inputs and particularly outputs running your appliances and devices, is a really critical thing that we've learned over the years that we also ensure that we deliver on with the latest product. And then the last one, Bill, number 6 is then you take that design and you build it. And so manufacturing quality and build quality for us is critical. Some of that is design. We use a metal aluminum extrusion housing to give a really rugged and robust enclosure. But also on top of that, we monitor the manufacturing process really closely. We have 4 separate rounds of testing and validation that every production run goes through, both at the manufacturing facility as well as independently by our testing and here in our facilities in the US. So we make sure that every unit that comes out the door is pristine and has phenomenal build quality.
Awesome. Number 7 I want to talk about is the range of accessories. I think it was about 2017 we really doubled down on ensuring that the unit does not stand by itself, that there's a range of accessories that surround it that make it really usable in every application. And we've continued that theme here. I'll just mention a few of the accessories that are designed to work with the Yeti 4000 here. And I'll pull a couple of them up here. The bottom of this unit has a latch and lock system that allows you to integrate different components with it. And I'll just mention a couple of them here. This is a mounting plate. You can put it in a vehicle, mount it a variety of different ways, or you can put it in your home so that you secure your power station and your solution to the facility, both from a safety standpoint and a security standpoint. So we've got this latch and lock system, and it's even got a keyed system that allows you to lock it and secure it. Another component that's part of that latch and lock system is the mobility cart. So we've got a cart that it just clips into, wheels on the bottom, and an extendable handle. So you can take it off, you can use the cart, the mobility cart when you want it, and you can take it off when you don't need it. And then maybe the most important latch and lock system are the Yeti tanks themselves. So we're launching 4,000 watt-hour tanks with this that clip into the bottom of it, plug into it, and each one of those has the same battery in this unit. So a 4,000 watt-hour battery. You can add up to 4 of those. So if you do the math on that, you can expand from 4 kilowatt hours up to 20 kilowatt hours on a single system. So the latch and lock variety of components is a really big part of the accessory system. 2 others I'll mention, and we're going to go look at those here in just a minute. What we call the Haven ecosystem. The Haven represents the home, so a variety of components that allow you to integrate the unit into your home circuit panel. And then the Escape is the next unit we're launching today, or the next set of integration components. The Escape allows you to escape from your home in a vehicle, and whether that's an RV or a van. And so we'll be talking about some of those components, the Escape components that allow you to integrate this into a vehicle as well. And then finally, I'd be remiss to not mention our range of solar panels we have. I think most people that know Goal Zero realize we have a wide range of solar panels. We have both installable solar panels, and we've launched a new one today, the Boulder 100i, that is specifically designed to be installed either on some sort of a building or on a vehicle. You'll see some of those in a moment. They come with the right mounting brackets and all those details. We also have another line of solar panels that are really lightweight portable solar panels called our Nomad line. We've got a new Nomad 400 coming out in about a month with 400 watt hours, obviously. And then the final range of solar panels are our Boulder briefcase line. These are a bit more rugged glass panels that come in a variety of sizes as well. All of those solar panels can be combined and integrated again to get you up to a maximum of 300 or 3,000 watts into the system itself. So the accessory range is a big part of what we think about. It's not good enough to just have a great power station. If I can't integrate it and use it in all my applications, it misses the mark, and we find it really important to make sure we've got all of those pieces incorporated. So that's number 7. Number 8, and the final piece we want to talk about is just is the product support and the product life. Kayvon already mentioned we've got a lithium iron phosphate battery That battery will again last 4,000 plus cycles. That means fully drained to the bottom and to the top. Do the math on that. That means 10 years of fully cycling the battery, and after 10 years, it will still hold 80% of its original charge. That's another class-leading metric to mention. The unit comes with a 5-year warranty out of the box, and you can expand that when you buy it with 3 extra years. You'll find that on our website right now if you'd like to go up to 8 years with that. And then I'd really be remiss if I didn't mention our customer support team. We call it our Solution Center. The Solution Center is located in our headquarters. They're 50 to 100 yards from our from the engineering team, and they are some of the most technically capable folks on the planet. So when you call them, you are literally talking to people that have seen our product in every situation it could be in. And if anything ever breaks them where they can't answer it directly, it's a walk down the hall and to chat with the engineers, and they're back with our customers on it. So we're really proud of what that team does in terms of supporting our customers out there. So that number 8 is that kind of class-leading product support and warranty. I think that's enough on the things we really care about or the things we're really shooting for with the unit. And so now, Kayvon, why don't you do a quick walkthrough? There's a lot of ports, there's a lot of things coming out of the unit. Let's do a quick port walkthrough so folks understand what they should, what every hole in the unit is.
Sure. Yeah, so besides the display on the front, you've got basically the output ports that Bill has already talked a little bit about. So I'm just going to walk through them very briefly. Each of the port sections you can turn on and off with one of the buttons here. And underneath the lid that gives it this rainproof ruggedization, we have the actual ports. So these are kind of your plug-and-play ports. You've got your car auxiliary port here, and these 6mm that allow you to plug it into things like the skylight that we just launched recently, this area light that has over 5,000 lumens of lighting. You've got the AC ports here. This is where you get access to that 3,600 watts of AC output, basically mimicking the wall, really 2 circuits in your home that it mimics. And then you have the USB ports, where we have 6 USB ports. 3 of them are USB-A quick charge ports. That's for charging phones typically. And then you have your 3 USB-C ports. 2 of them are 30-watt PD ports, a lot for tablets and maybe small laptops, and then this 100-watt PD port that can go up and charge a lot of laptops out there. And then on the back, what we have is some of the more heavy-duty input and auxiliary ports. Over here, you've got your main input ports. This is your high-power solar input with a locking connector. A lot of these are locking connectors so that you can integrate them into vehicles and things like that. This is your fast charge AC port that pulls in that 1,800 watts from the wall. You've got your 12-volt regulator. This is where you can access the 30 amps in a vehicle so that you can run a 12-volt bus and basically any 12-volt device that's best-in-class output capability. This is a TT30 30-amp AC port, similar to what you might find in an RV park for shore power. And this is our new Power Plus port. It's a really dynamic, it has in, out, as well as data, and we use it for a lot of the ecosystem accessory products to unlock some of the capabilities when you integrate with homes and vehicles and things like that. Over here you have some additional ports. The biggest and most important one here is the expansion port right here that plugs into those Tank Pro 4000 products that we're talking about that give you access to expand the capability. So plug and play on everything, locking ports for integration, and just generally heavy-duty stuff on the back and plug-and-play things on the front.
Awesome, thanks, Kayvon. Okay, now we're going to shift over, and we're going to talk a little bit about this unit in an actual application. The first application we're going to talk about is our home application. So this is, we call it the Haven. This is the Haven ecosystem, and I'll start by just talking about what are the components of this system that you can buy that allow this to integrate into the home. We do have these kitted. I'll talk about those in a minute, but we'll talk about each component just for a moment. What you might be able to see at the very bottom is that mounting plate that I showed a minute ago that can be bolted into the floor or the wall to secure the unit. And then in this particular setup, we've got 2 of those expansion tanks. 1, 2. As you can see, they integrate into one nice clean unit and they clip together with powers plugged in the back. And then the heart of the system obviously is the Yeti 4000 that sits on top of it. So we've got the mounting plate, the tanks, the heart of the system, and then the piece that really helps us integrate is the Haven 10. And Kayvon will talk a little bit about what the Haven 10 does and how that dynamically ties the unit into our home. Go ahead.
Yeah, so in and of itself, the Haven 10 is basically a 10-circuit manual transfer switch, and that means it integrates into your normal circuit panel at home for up to 10 circuits. and each of those circuits can be manually set to different settings. But the key here is that when combined with the Yeti, you get the automatic capability. The Yeti has automatic power switching. It's a function and mode that it has. And what that means is that you're able to then use the combination of these to automatically switch to backup power when there's an outage. So I'm going to walk through that in just a second, but before I do, let me just talk about how it's connected. This path here is connected to your normal circuit panel that's bringing the 10 circuits over here. You've got these two plugs that are your inputs, particularly this one from the grid that an electrician will install from your circuit panel, and then this one is part of our solar accessory kits. That allows you to take any of our deployable solar that Bill mentioned that'll live outside the home and run it with wiring into the home and have this plug-and-play solar input into the Yeti. So these are how the Yeti charges and gets power. And this path right here is how it provides power to those 10 circuits during an outage. So this output goes into the Haven 10 itself. And there's a little bit of optionality here. Basically, you can have it plugged in directly and have everything in one location. That's what most people do, but some people, like me in my home, this part of the system is down in my basement with my circuit panel, but the plugs are up elsewhere in my garage. So you do want to get a professional electrician to install this for you. It can take as little as 1 to 2 hours in a simple install, and if you do something a little more complex like mine, it might take a little bit longer. But it's actually a really simple install, and any electrician should be able to do it. So that's kind of how it sets up, and let me just walk through kind of configuration and a demo here. So what we have here is I have 4 circuits in this kind of mock room set up, and I have set 3 of those circuits, particularly this kitchen area and these appliances running off of the grid right now. So you can see here circuits 1, 3, and 4 are set to Yeti, which means they're in that automatic power functionality. So here I can turn on the toaster, which we have set up. I can add a couple minutes to the microwave where we have some popcorn in there. So we can start that running, and I'm just going to demonstrate. So these are all the functions that are running, and our fridge is powered. All of these off the grid, and the screen will show you that. It's in APS mode, which is the automatic power switching mode, and we're pulling approximately 2,500 watts in pass-through mode. What we're going to do now is we're going to switch off the grid. So I'm going to ask Bill, my assistant over there, to shut off the grid, and what that'll do is it'll remove power to this entire area. We'll see what turns on. This second circuit that I left on grid is these lights. So you'll see that go off, and that'll kind of mimic what happens when the power goes out for the circuits that aren't set to automatic. So Bill?
So right now we're running off the grid, right?
Yeah, everything's running off the grid right now.
It's going through the Yeti, but the Yeti's not powering anything. It doesn't need to because the grid's here for you.
That's right. And if there was some charging that was needing to happen, it would be charging at this point off the grid as well, or solar.
All right.
You hear the popcorn going.
And now we simulate the grid going down.
All right, so you can see the lights turned off. That's the grid going down. We still got the popcorn going, just finished. And then the toaster's still going, but the lights went out. So this is the manual portion. If you want some portion of your home that's on automatic, these are your critical circuits, your refrigeration, your communications, things like that. But some portions you leave on manual. We can go in to wherever this is installed and flip it over and get the lights back. So now, Bill, we are running off the Yeti. The toaster's still running, so we're getting the wattage coming out, but you can see the automatic power switching icon has left. So we're not in APS mode where we're passing power through the grid or from the grid through the Yeti. Instead, we're getting no power coming in, and we're pulling 900 watts. This is from the toaster right now. So if I finish the toaster, you'll see that the toaster watts goes down, and we have 170 primarily from the fridge and a little bit from the lights. So now we're in off-grid mode, and you can see everything running currently off the Yeti, including all of the appliances that we had going before. And the same information that normally is helpful, the biggest one here is this time to empty. It's predicting that given the current loads and environment, we're going to be empty in 3 days. That's because the Yeti and the tanks here, it's calculating all the capacity that's available there and running this calculation to tell you when you'll run out of power, so you can plan if you're planning your outage, you can plan around it.
And that's a good question. People want to know, well, how much backup power can I get out of one of these systems? So I think we'll have a graphic that pops up right now, and we're just showing an example. Everybody's got different needs, but generally speaking, we all care about a few things. Our refrigerator. So the screen that you see right now gives you a list of the kind of things, an example set of the things you can run in one day with a single Yeti. And then when I add each tank, I can double those number of days, or I can add more things. So as an example, your refrigerator, your Wi-Fi, watch the TV for several hours a day if you're keeping up with what's happening with the emergency in your area, some lighting in your area. You might hook up your garage door opener so that you don't have to pull that red cord when you're getting in and out of your garage. Coffee makers for some people are pretty critical. So these are just examples of some of the things that you can run with 4,000 watt hours or 4 kilowatt hours in a day. And obviously you can add tanks, as I mentioned, to expand the number of days, or you can add solar to replenish that battery so you can run indefinitely during a grid down scenario. The last thing we want to mention before we leave this home ecosystem is what are these kits and what do I need to buy these? I think we've got another graphic that'll pop up right now that's showing those. Those are examples of just 4 of the kits that are pre-prepared with all the pieces you need, the mounting plate, tanks if necessary, the Yeti itself, the Haven 10, all the wires that you need. So you see those 4 kits that are up today. And if you look at the pricing on those, generally what's happening is when you add on and buy it as a kit, you're getting about 15% off all the accessories that you add to those. So that's the Yeti 4000 in a home resilience or a home backup application. Now we're going to transition over to the last application, which is a vehicle application, and talk about that. So head over this way with me, Kayvon. Okay, we've got a mock camper here. I think you'll be able to see it here in just a moment. In our lobby here in Goal Zero headquarters in Utah. And so we've got this camper here, and I'll just touch on a few of the basic components, and then Kayvon will get into the details. Same thing, we've got the mounting plate in here so I can secure that Yeti. The Yeti is the heart of the system. Of course, it's in the unit as well. And then I can add as many tanks, or 0 to 4 tanks, depending on how much power I actually need. Those are the same components you've seen in the other solutions. And then we've got some unique components that Kayvon will talk about that really make this escape ecosystem work in a vehicle. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. So the key kind of component for vehicles here, one of the 2 sets of things is this display that gives you remote access to the Yeti's functions, being able to enable and disable ports, put it into kind of a winterization shut-off mode, and just see what's happening within the vehicle. Of course, you've always got the app that can Bluetooth to the Yeti even when it's off-grid, but this display is able to get installed in a vehicle and be able to give you remote access in case this is somewhere in a cabinet or under the bed or something like that. So pretty simple, kind of an exposed interface for the Yeti. And then the other real kind of bundle of products that are in the Escape ecosystem are a number of wire harnesses that allow you to integrate it into a variety of vehicles. And we have a couple of universal kits that work for most applications. And so I'll walk through a couple of those wire bundles that'll give you access to different things. So we'll start with the inputs. We have a few different ways to charge the Yeti in a vehicle setup. One of them is with our deployable solar, so you have different wiring and bulkhead terminals here. That'll take, for example, here we have a Nomad panel that is able to charge it where you can deploy it out and plug into the wall of the vehicle, as well as some wire harnesses that allow you to integrate within the vehicle. So over there is a product that Bill mentioned, the Boulder 100i, that's just launching. That's a 100-watt solar panel that's intended to be installed. So that's wired in from inside the vehicle into the Yeti. So that's type 1 charging. The second type of charging that we do is from shore power. So that's just regular grid power for campgrounds and sites that have available electricity that allows you to charge the Yeti when you're docked, or if you're home and you want to recharge your vehicle while it's parked in your driveway. So that is a shore power line. We're not showing that here, but effectively there's a wire harness that allows you to do that. And then the third set is the way to charge it is from vehicles itself. So either you're in a motorized vehicle like a motorhome or a van, or if you're in a towable and you're powering and charging the Yeti from your 4 or 7 pin harness, it'll be able to do that from the tow vehicle's engine and alternator, as well as direct from the alternator from cars that have their motors. So those are kind of the 3 sets of wires that are for charging. And then there's a lot of different ways to get power out. Obviously, there's the ports on the product itself. For example, we have a skylight here that would plug in directly to those 12-volt ports in the front, but also you can run those ports from the back of the Yeti into your buses. So there's a number of cables that allow you to do that. Wire harnesses and the display are really kind of the heart of our Escape ecosystem, Bill. And then the other thing to keep in mind, we did make it universal. It's super accessible, but we do recommend that you have a professional vehicle installer or somebody from a dealership to be able to install it in your vehicle. It makes it super easy for it. You're able to do it in a variety of ways.
And then one of the questions people ask again is, well, what can this power? with 3,600 watts of AC power and then that 30 amp DC output. You can power anything in an RV. I mean, we find it very hard to find a way to exceed that. So generally, your entire DC bus, every DC component in an RV or any vehicle can be powered. And maybe the biggest question is, can I run the AC? Can I run my air conditioner if I'm camping in a hotter area? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Most AC units that are in an RV, this will absolutely run. And the question is how long? So if I take one Yeti and I add one tank to it, you can run that AC unit for somewhere between 8 and 12 hours, depending on ambient temperature and all the details of kind of the insulation and details in your particular RV unit. But you certainly can run an AC unit, and then you also remember 3,000 watts of solar in. If I couple this with enough installed solar and deployable solar, I can fully recharge those batteries every single day. And effectively, I can go camping off-grid indefinitely and have the luxury of all the electrical devices in my RV as well, or my van, and also have air conditioning as well. And then maybe the last question that we have or that we get related to this is, how is this kitted? What are the components? And I think we've got a graphic that'll come up here in just a second that will show 4 kits that are available. And those kits are a towable kit. So Kayvon talked about the wiring harnesses. So slightly different wiring depending on whether you are going into a towable unit, like a trailer, or into a drivable unit. And we've got 4 kits there. 2 of the kits are the add-ons to a Yeti 4000 if you already own one. 2 of them actually come with the 4000. So all the components you need are built into those kits, and there's some discounts built into that pricing as well. So when you buy the entire package, you're getting a little bit of value out of that as opposed to buying all the pieces a la carte. So that's our escape ecosystem. So we've talked about the unit itself. We've talked about the Haven ecosystem, which is where we integrate into a home. And now we've talked about the escape ecosystem, where we've integrated into a vehicle, whether it be a towable vehicle or a drivable vehicle. And I think now we're going to transition to take some questions from the audience. And so we'll head back over to the table over here. And the team, we've got a team of people right now that are fielding questions that are online. So some of your questions, if you send them in, our engineering team will field, and then some of them, Kayvon and I'll take here live on screen. So Kat, let us know when you're ready with any questions.
Yeah. Will the Haven 10 and Escape work with previous generation Yetis? And then vice versa, will previous generation accessories work with the Yeti Pro? So will Haven 10 and Escape work with previous generation Yetis?
Yeah, so great question. The Haven 10 and the Escape ecosystem will generally work with older models of product, but there are a couple caveats to that. One is you might need some additional cables that don't come built in with the kits because the kits are intended for the new generation. And the other is there's some capabilities or functions that might get degraded. For example, the automatic switching function in the Yeti Pro is not available on the older models. So effectively, the Haven 10 becomes a manual transfer switch only and doesn't have the automatic power functionality. In the other direction, does the Yeti 4000 Pro work with existing accessories? The general answer is yes. All of the solar, all the power supplies, all the old ecosystem products will work, with one exception basically is the modules that are in the older generation lithium Yetis. Those are the things that go under the lid. So there were 2. One is the Link module that allows you to chain lead acid tanks into the product. In this world, we're using the new lithium iron phosphate batteries for the tank, and then the MPPT charge controller, which will not be supported in this, but it has so much more capacity on the solar that you don't need that.
Great. Okay. If this is the first of the 6th generation of Yetis, will all of the 6th gen Yetis have LiFePO batteries, fast charging, and all the other additional?
Yes, they will. So this is the flagship model. Over the next roughly year or so, we'll be launching the rest of our 6th generation of the units. There's lots of commonalities between them. Again, this is the largest, but they'll all have our LFP or lithium iron phosphate batteries that provide that 4,000 cycles. They'll all have AC fast charging. They'll all have generally larger solar inputs than we've had in the past, or at least equal to that. So many of those components, they'll also all be app compatible. So it's not just our larger units, the smaller units as well will be app compatible. And the beauty of the app is not just the ability to interface with the Yeti when you're when you're not directly next to it, but we also have the ability to upgrade all of the firmware and the software that's running in the unit as well. So all units will have all of those capabilities coming forward. So stay tuned. We've got some of those that we are going to be launching as early as Q1 of next year on the smaller sizes, and then some of the other ones will come throughout 2024.
Cool. This one's a little spicy. How does this compare to the EcoFlow Delta Pro?
Go ahead.
Well, generally, I would say that we go through those 8 categories, and we are either equal to or best. We are best in class in all of those categories, so equal to or better than across the board. So depends on which product and which feature you're looking at, but generally speaking, you've got the fastest charging, you've got the largest size inverter, the highest cycle count on the battery, as well as all of the kind of non-spec versions of our product, which are the quality, the performance, the support, and all of the services that we provide. So that's kind of the high-level view, and the details depend on which product or which one we're comparing to.
I mean, remember, this one does have, from a build quality standpoint, we've got an aluminum shell here, aluminum handles. I mean, we have a very robust unit in terms of durability. I think the latch and lock system as well that allows you to integrate different components underneath it, just make it a much smoother user interface and capability in terms of just the ease of user interface. So I think there's a lot of improvements outside of the specs themselves. Certainly with 4,000 watt hours built into it, a little larger than most of our competitors' larger units that are out there as well. So.
Okay. Okay. When will the 240 volt capability be available?
Yeah, so the 240 volt capability, there's 2 answers to that question, I guess. One of them is we're going to have an international version that has 230, 240 volt output. That's coming out in Q1 of next year. And then for the US version, the 240 volt here is a little different. And what that will require is 2 Yetis going through a combiner accessory. And that's also launching in the first half of next year. What that allows you to do is to take the output from 2 Yetis and either choose to double the amount of current or double the voltage, which will give you the 240, and then you can run those well pumps, sump pumps, the other 240 volt devices in your home.
And it's important to note too, with that combiner box, you'll also be able to combine 2 Yeti stacks into your Haven 10, so you can actually choose a few circuits that will be, if what you want to power at home are those larger 240 volt loads, you'll be able to do that in the home integration scenario as well.
Yeah, and coming out the gate, the Yeti and the Haven 10 are both compatible with the 240 volt. They'll just need that accessory. So you can get one and install it now and then get the second Yeti later, and it'll be able to do the 240 at that time.
Cool. Okay, this is about installation in the home. So how easy is it for a homeowner to set up the 4000 and Haven compared to other solutions in the market?
Yeah, I'll take that and you can jump in. So when you talk about other solutions, there's a lot of different solutions from a backup standpoint, and I don't know if now's the time to really get into all of those, but you've got things like a gen set, a large gen set, and if you think about the installation process there, generally you're pouring a concrete pad, you're running a natural gas line, you're running electrical line, so you're talking about a multi-day complex install. When we think of other larger battery solutions, like everybody knows what the Tesla Powerwall is, or you've probably heard of it, you're talking about a 1 to 2 day installation time, setup time, and then a commissioning process generally before you can actually wire it into whoever your electrical provider is. So fairly extensive and expensive processes. To install the Haven 10 that we saw here, we're generally talking about 2 to 3 hours, depending on your setup. The typical electrician will cost maybe $100 to $200 an hour, depending on where you're at. So generally what we're saying is a much, much simpler installation process to make the product actually work in your home. And then don't forget the other piece of it, which is it's still removable. I literally unplug a couple wires, I unclip it, and I take it camping with me, or I take it tailgating, I take it to the beach party, and then I bring it back and I tie it back into my home. So we've got this multi-purpose application beyond just the ease of installation compared to other solutions in the market today.
Yeah, and I'll just add that a lot of those installations require a significant permitting process from your local utility or your inspectors. And generally speaking, this does not require any amount of permitting. It depends on your jurisdiction. Some areas do, but it's not a national requirement or anything like that. So the time from when you get it to when you can use it is much shorter. It's much simpler, and you can actually use it as soon as it arrives. You don't actually have to integrate it and wait for that electrician. So it's a really quick and easy use case, even if you're not integrating it yet.
And I can't help but mention too, a big part of the folks that live in our country, at least in the entire world, live in apartments or multi-dwelling units. They may not have the ability to install something in the home, but the Yeti 4000 still gives them access. It's the only backup solution they have to provide power to them. I can't run a gas generator inside. I can't install a large battery. I can't install a genset. But what I can do is take a Yeti 4000 in the home and plug those critical devices into it. And now I've got backup power even in a multi-dwelling unit that you just wouldn't have with any other solution on the market today.
Okay, 2 more questions here. Does the battery drain over time?
So the short answer to that is yes, but the more detailed and relevant answer is it's a lot slower of a discharge rate than any other product, whether in the market or that we've had in previous generations. So batteries just inherently will discharge gradually over time. So if you charge this to full, it can last up to 3 years before it reaches that 0, at least 2. It has a power button that shuts it way down and gets its idle current, the amount of idle draw on the battery, to be so minimal, lower than we've ever had on any product out there by a significant amount. So compared to other products, it's basically no, it doesn't drain, but it does actually drain over time. It's instead of 3 to 6 months though, it's multiple years.
Okay, and then one last one here. When powered off, do the screen and button lights stay on or shut off completely?
Talking about blackout mode.
Yeah, so when you power it off, there's a power button that shuts it off, and all the lights and that idle current goes down and everything, the display, everything turns off. But also, when it's on, we do have a blackout mode that turns all the lights and things off, just to save a little bit of power, but also in some situations you don't want those lights on and the display on. So there's a display light turn off, but there's also all the blackout mode where all the lights and LEDs turn off.
Great. That wraps up all of the Q&A questions.
All right. Before we wrap up, I just want to acknowledge a couple of folks. So maybe if Robbie and Sterling can come up here a little in front of the camera. I mean, launching a product like this is a Herculean effort, and we've been working on this since COVID. And maybe just a little background. I mean, during COVID, I think a lot of people heard about shortages of batteries, shortages of microprocessors, and our team here spent a tremendous amount of effort and time just keeping our existing Yeti X-Line units in market while they're also working on the next generation. And if I pulled everyone up here that had worked on the launch of this product and the build of it, you would see literally the entire Goal Zero team. And I want to acknowledge everybody at Goal Zero, because I don't think there's a single person that in some way didn't play a role in launching this. But a couple of people I want to acknowledge real quick. Robbie's been the project or the product manager on this. He's quarterbacked this thing from the start to the end, played a huge role in getting us on time, on budget, all of those things that really mattered when we put a product in market. And Sterling is our technical lead. He runs the engineering teams, both the hardware teams, the software teams, the firmware teams. And if you don't know, there is just a tremendous amount. We see something that is physical, and you naturally think about the physical elements of the electronics in it, but there is a tremendous amount of firmware that is running this. So a ton of what Sterling's team has been doing is just tweaking the firmware and ensuring that it delivers exactly the experience that you would expect, but both from a power standpoint and what is intuitive to you. So Sterling's been the lead on those things. I just want to acknowledge both of you guys for just tremendous work and driving this. And obviously they've got teams behind them. If I let them talk for a while, they would just rattle through a long list of people that some of them haven't slept a whole lot for the last several weeks as we get close to the launch. I think these guys may not have over the weekend much either, but thank you guys for everything that you guys have done to drive us to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Phil.
All right, I think is that a wrap for today? Okay, so thank you so much for joining us. This has been great. Please engage with on goalzero.com. Everything is up and live on the website right now. At the top, I'd encourage you to that's the fridge, tells us we're done. I would encourage you to check out the home backup link at the top. There's a lot of content there that walks through what the components are, how it works, what you need to think about if you want to use this in a home backup scenario, and all of those kits we talked about there. So just a tremendous amount of information there. Also, you can click on the vehicle link at the top, and that will take you through some of the same information, but for the vehicle applications as well. We've got a team of people responding to questions there, and lots of different forums on our website. If you have questions, call our Solution Center. I bragged about their knowledge of this system before, and I would encourage you, if you have questions that you don't have answered on our website, we have live people that know this system really well. They're here to answer your questions. Please call them. They're eager to talk with anybody that's got questions about it. So call them. You will get a live person on the phone. You will not get stuck in a queue forever, well, unless you all call at once. But if you do have questions, we do have people that are really knowledgeable and want to respond to your questions. So thank you so much for joining us today. We're super excited about this launch, and stay tuned. We're in a major launch season. As I mentioned, the next generation of some of the smaller units will be coming out starting in Q1 throughout the rest of next year. Lots of product launches coming from Goal Zero over the next year or so. Thanks so much, guys.